Okay, guys. Excuse me. I just got done watching the R.Kelly special, and I have to say I'm still a little bit rattled just watching it. A lot to take in, a lot to digest, a lot to even really think about in terms of what happened back then, correlating the time and music and how things were in the 90s and what's unraveling with these young ladies now. So it was a two-part series. I'm recording this on Friday. It actually came on Thursday night, back to back, an hour long each episode. I'm sure a lot of you have seen it, so I'm not going to do a full recap on everything that happened, but I do want to talk about a couple of things that was expressed in the documentary. They started off talking about how Robert was as a young child, and he had siblings and, two brothers, and he had a younger brother, very involved in singing in the church, and right from a very young age was very talented, very gifted. And I was hoping that they would not try to make the whole thing about him being sexually assaulted. I felt it coming. I felt it in my spirit. I guess that's something that you can really expect from somebody who preys upon young girls, is that perhaps something traumatic has happened to them as a child. So I knew it was coming, but I said, okay, hopefully Lifetime will not give him a outing and say that this is the reason why Robert is this way. So yeah, that did happen. He experienced sexual trauma. And apparently there were adults then that actually knew about the trauma. They talked about how he was very close to his choir teacher, and even in his writing, when he wrote music, he would talk about the abuse, and some of the lyrics were very explicit. So she picked up on it. There was something going on at home, and perhaps that would have been an opportunity for her to, reach out to his parent or law officials or somebody. Perhaps this train wreck that has ruined several people's lives would not have happened. Okay, so they talked about that. They talked about his relationship with his brothers, and how his younger brother actually was sexually taken advantage of as a child as well, and even told Robert about it. They then went on to talk about how he became successful in the 90s. Now let's think about the 90s, because for me, I love the 90s, okay? I love the music, but for some reason when I watched this documentary, it just dawned on me how sexual the 90s were. I mean, you had H-Town, Somebody Rockin', Knockin' the Boots. I mean, and I remember being like a 8-year-old, 9-year-old, 10-year-old girl back then, but loving all this R&B, but it was so sexually explicit. I don't know about you all, but for me coming up, we weren't watching the Disney Channel. Like how my kids watch the Disney Channel now, we were watching and listening to the same music as the adults were listening to. Back then there wasn't any Britney Spears, and I never was into Britney Spears, but I'm just saying in the 90s, you were listening to Jodeci, you were listening to H-Town, okay? You were listening to some explicit music. The group Silk. I love Silk. Again, I was only 11 years old. There's a meeting in my bedroom. I mean, it was all very sexual, explicit music. Even when, what's the show on BET that used to come on? Donnie and Sherry. You guys know the show that I'm talking about. What is the name of the show with Donnie and Sherry? BET, what was it? You guys know what I'm talking about. As a matter of fact, there were several groups that came on that show, and I cannot remember, but they had all the R&B acts and all the rap acts that came on that show. Again, very explicit music, very explicit words, and we all sung along. Now, regarding the music, the song that Aaliyah had, Age Ain't Nothing But a Number, I always thought the lyrics were age ain't nothing but a number and going down ain't nothing but a thing. But somebody brought to my attention that the words are actually age ain't nothing but a number and a noun ain't nothing but a thing, because we know a noun is a person, place, or thing. So I don't know, you guys in the comments, you guys let me know exactly what those lyrics are. Either way, they were very indicative of her current situation, which was dating R. Kelly. That, to me, when they talked about it in the documentary, and I didn't even think they were going to go there for the simple fact that, she isn't alive. But if I'm being honest, it's poignant and very important that it's mentioned, because it shows you, where he was in his mind frame. He was so into this young girl and wanted her so bad and was so mesmerized by Aaliyah, that they did have this, excuse me, this relationship. And she was just a 15-year-old girl. Now, you guys know that back then in the 90s, when they would do interviews, they never really said their age, or they'll say that, such and such is a certain age, but that wouldn't be your real age. It was always a weird thing, and I never really understood where that came from. Like, why aren't these people saying their ages? Like, I understand the young guys, if you were in R&B, you didn't want to seem like you were too old, I guess, because you wanted that young female crowd. It was just very odd to me. Just that whole, age is not really talked about, when we have these interviews. But yeah, the music was very sexual. I even remember, everybody knows the song Scarred, put your hands up high, your back down low, now pop that pussy to the floor. I mean, again, as a young kid, dancing to some of those lyrics. So, it was just a lot back then. They talked about his life. They talked about his rise to fame. And R. Kelly got some hits, man. R. Kelly got some hits. That Bump and Grind, 12 Play. My brother is 4 years older than me, and I remember on Saturdays when he would wash my parents' cars, he would have that tape in the system, and it would be loud, and it would be going, and that was the joint, that whole 12 Play album. R. Kelly got some hits, but R. Kelly got some serious issues, man. He got some serious issues. He got a lot of things going on with him. Over the years, he's had a lot of people that he's mentored, a lot of people that he's done records with, a lot of people that's mentored him. And I often wonder, what did they see? I will say that in recent years, he's had some people that's put out albums that have done, songs on the album with him. And this is well after the whole P-Gate, if you will call it, situation. The tape where it came out that he, peed on the young lady. Now, about that tape, I never saw it. I saw it in clips and pieces, but that was back in the day, I guess, where you could download it or stream it some kind of way. And I remember my neighbor having it, but it was like a terrible copy. And, and so all of the hype around it was, oh, did you see the tape? Did you see, R. Kelly peeing on this girl? And at that age and at that time, it was like a kind of mesmerizing thing, like a funny thing, like a little tee-hee-hee, but not really even realizing that this girl was like a child. Because again, back then in the 90s, and this is not for all females, but I remember my older sister, having older boyfriends. I remember even me like dating guys who were like 3 or 4 years older than me, and I was maybe like 16 years old, and my boyfriend would be like 18, 17 years old. It just wasn't cool to date somebody, I guess, on your same age or younger than you. You wanted a more experienced guy, I guess the point I was trying to make is that, you look at what's going on with this situation now, and you think, man, some of that stuff was going on back then. They touched on different women who had been affected by R. Kelly. They talked about the young lady who, she wanted a recording contract, or she wanted to go into singing, and she met with him, and when he came to the studio, he seemed to be very optimistic about her future and wanting to work with her. And he had her to sing a song to a track that he was playing, and he went on to compliment her and tell her that, hey, I really feel like I can work with you. And then next thing you know, he's tonguing her down in the studio, and from there it just became a shitstorm of her being locked into a hotel room or not being able to leave, on her own leisure, having to call him daddy, having sex with him. She wasn't allowed to leave. He threatened her and told her that he would have somebody watching the hotel, have somebody watching her, and she ended up contracting mono and damn near almost dying, and this nigga didn't even have the audacity to, go to the hospital to visit her. He sent her mother $1,000. I mean, all of these traits, all of these things about R. Kelly, it's like this person, and I hate saying this word, I don't want to just throw it out like that, but if we're being honest, he is a genius when it comes to this whole music thing. He knows how to write music, he knows how to listen to music and play it back on the piano or keyboard, but something just was not right mentally. And yeah, it does go back to the sexual abuse that he encountered. They even talked about his brothers. Well, his his brothers are very interesting in the fact that I'm not sure which one of them, but one of them actually admitted that, hey, we control our women. That's how we are. We don't want our women talking to other people. We don't want our women being around other men. If we say, stay put, then, you stay put. That's just how we are. And I'm going to tell you something. Women got to really look for those signs. You have to be very careful and very cautious about what you are mistaken as love. Oh, my man, he don't want me looking at nobody else. He don't want me calling nobody else. He loves me. Absolutely not. That is a sign of control. So his brother actually admitted that they all have a controlling spirit about them. I'm like, damn, are you beating women too? Are you manipulating women? Are you controlling women as well? Well, clearly, that's exactly what he's been doing. It's like you have to be ever so careful who you get yourself involved with, both men and women. I have a daughter that's going off into the military next year, and she's a good kid, a good person, a great personality, very outgoing, and we're so proud of her. And, while looking at that documentary, even I had to question myself and say, damn, did I give her all the tools and all the knowledge, which I know I have? I mean, you talk to your kids till you're blue in the face. Have I expressed to her how beautiful she is, how important she is, how it's very important not to let anybody take advantage of you. Don't let anybody manipulate you. Don't let anybody get into your head that you're less than, So, I'm going to have a conversation with her again, because it's one thing, for me to tell her, all of that stuff, and, we're home, we're here in the house, but when she goes off into the Navy and start to meet new people and meet men and have relationships and get to know other people, all of that is going to be very important for, for her to know. And if I'm being honest, sometimes you can talk to your kids till they're, you're blue in the face, and they still do things that they don't have any business doing. The one young lady, and I don't remember her name, I'm sorry guys, if you watch this special, if you watch the episodes, and you know exactly who I'm speaking of, she talked about how, she told her mom that she's going to Chicago, and there was no real stink made about it, and that she was going to be with R. Kelly, and in my mind, I'm thinking, well, hold on now, mama, your daughter says she is leaving to go with R. Kelly, and I don't care if she's 18 or 19, but no, we not just going to pack up and move with R. Kelly now. No, that we ain't doing that. Okay, so it's like, where's the parenting? you know, and I don't know the situation. Maybe she was, you know, just trying to run off, and she thought that, you know, like she said, she thought they were in a full-fledged relationship, and she thought that she was the only one. But, you know, it's a lot. There were several women. The other girl who talked about how, well, I guess it was the same girl. She said that when she first met, and mind you, they didn't say at first that it was Sparkle's niece, but when she first met Sparkle's niece and they began to have a sexual relationship, a threesome, you know, she didn't realize that she was only 15 years old until she got to talking to her and having a conversation, and realized that, you know, this is a young girl. Now, mind you, she was 19 herself, and then I guess that's when she started to feel bad and disgusting, and you know, she just didn't want to be a part of it. And you know, there was a situation where they were in the midst of a threesome, and she started to cry, and I guess Robert got upset about that because, you know, he don't want to go back and look at a video and jack off, you know, and see her crying. You know, what I'm going to do with that? That ain't going to do nothing for me. You on video crying. So I guess she had to pull herself together and continue the sexual act. It's just, it's so sad. But I really feel like after this right here, R. Kelly is done, man. He's done. He is done, because 20 minutes into that video, it drew me in right away, because they went straight to his childhood and his upbringing, and I said, okay, they're doing this the right way. You know, this is not going to be a fly-by-night documentary. And 20 minutes into that episode, I said, yep, he's done, because Lifetime has done their homework. They had clinicians on there. They had doctors on there talking about abuse, talking about mental abuse, talking about how the aggressor will prey on young girls. So they did their homework, and apparently R. Kelly's lawyered up, apparently, and has threatened to sue Lifetime, but, you know, they still went on with it, and I'm glad they did. You know, it's very insightful. I'm going to encourage my daughter to watch it, and I don't want to scare her, and I know she's going to say, Mommy, I know, Mommy, you've told me this 1,000 times.